Welcome to Afterburner. It is Boomer along with Ryan Pike here on a Friday night. I didn't see that coming. In fact, when it was 4-2 Dallas, I thought lopsided game, perhaps. Yes, I could. You would have sold me that there would be a lopsided game as Pavelski scored to make it 4-2. This was not the way I thought it would be lopsided, though. A stunner as they get into this meat grinder of a schedule. They go into Dallas and they win by a score of 7-4. What do you know?
I guess the comebacks are bigger in Dallas too.
I guess
five unanswered.
Yeah, I just you kept watching the puck go in. Rick Ball's putting in a shit ton of work tonight, and they score, and that's. They don't, it feels like sometimes they don't get the bounces. They got all the bounces tonight. They got about 2 or 3 weeks worth of bounces, it felt like tonight. But you'll take it. We talked about it on the other show that you look at this schedule of teams, and yeah, they're all good, and there's so many games over 500, and the lion's share of them are going to be playoff teams. The thing is, though, you're not always going to face those teams on their best night. You just kind of assume that good teams going to be hard to beat. And it looked like Dallas was going to be hard to beat. I guess if you were to pinpoint something, the old TSN turning point, what happened in this game? Obviously the 2 goals in 29 seconds, but how did it go why did it go sideways like this?
Honestly, I mean, in the first half of the game, I think a lot of it was, we'll use the old Glenn Gulletson standby, self-inflicted wounds, where it's a team that at times handles the puck like it's a live hand grenade, and they put a lot of things on Dallas's stick in the first half of the game, and that didn't completely go away from their game in the second half of the game, but they really tidied it up. And instead of it going pass turnover, it was pass, and those passes that had missed the mark by about 2 feet the previous period all ended up on the tape. And combine that with Jake Ottinger seemingly losing, track of his net from time to time. And I think there was the goal that ended up Lindholm getting it to making it 6-4. That's usually, it's for those of you who didn't see the game, it was, Sharangovich firing a shot that got Ottinger moving from his left to his right. And that's usually one that the goalie throws up the glove and makes the windmill, and they get a whistle and they go to commercial. This one didn't quite get enough of it and just sort of went off the webbing of his glove and sort of blooped right to Elias Lindholm. And that was the kind of third period that Dallas had. But the Flames made that third period happen by always having a Blake Coleman or an Elias Lindholm or a Michael Backlund going to the net for those kind of pucks. So It was both the Flames tidying up what they were doing with the puck and also being, I think, a little bit more tactical away from it.
You look at that Nashville game when whatever you want, the controversial glove, the glove goal that ended up counting, that made it 3-1. It's sometimes not about how many, it's about the timing. And it just felt like that one took the wind out of their sails. And I guess for Dallas, they never got that breathing room, or at least as soon as they got the breathing room, the Flames took it away. So full marks to them. And listen, I think Jake Ottinger's a hell of a goaltender. I had it written in my notes that a couple of years ago, he and Markstrom put on one hell of a goalie clinic. That clinic was not tonight. There was maybe 1 or 2 on Markstrom that you wondered about, and certainly at least 1 or 2 on Ottinger that he'd want back.
All I know is that playoff series a couple years ago took years off my life because
it was unbelievable.
It was fantastic hockey. I was grateful to be able to watch it all in person. But those games, like back and forth goaltending duels, and you were never really sure which goalie would flinch first. And in a nutshell, it was almost kind of like what this game was. Because I thought Jacob Markstrom in the first half of the game, couple of goals, you're like, okay, I kind of see how they went in. Even the first goal, 90 seconds in. The goalie gets moving left to right on a 2-on-1, a little bit of a hole under the arm that the puck finds a way through. Okay. He gets beat high blocker by, midway through the game to make it 3-2 off against Wise Johnson again. And okay, you probably want to save on one of those two. Knowing the goaltender, he probably wanted saves on all of them, but he made a lot of good saves in the second half of the game. That if you wind back the tape on some of the nice Flames goals off the rush, they all seem to begin with the defense started creating a turnover, or more often a really nice save by Jacob Markstrom that sent the play going the other way. And it's he gave them enough to keep them close when they didn't really have their mojo going. And then once they were able to sort of get it going offensively, he didn't really need to do as much, but he was still sharp. So, it was almost a microcosm of this first chunk of the season.
Both teams and both goalies will have pockets of the game that they like. 11 goals tonight. What was that about games 1 through 5, 1 through 6 of that series? It was 2-1, 3-2. Like there were no goals at all, and they get 11 with an empty netter, I guess, mind you, tonight. But
I think every time these teams play, the folks are tempted to go to Betway and hammer the under.
Take the under.
This game, anyone took the under, we apologize, because if you took the under, it was completely understandable.
Well, you've probably calmed down. It was so long. I mean, so early into the game. So you were hooped. Whatever it would have been, 3.5 in this game. Anyway, a lot of goals. So we figured rather than pick one for Betway, why don't we just do the highlight of the night, because it was a roller coaster affair. And if you did miss it, we'll take a look. Get the Betway app on your phone. Get it on your desktop, your laptop, however you do it. Get into it. You would have had at 4-2. The Flames, I bet, would have paid handsomely. So if you jumped on the Flames at 4-2 stars, congratulations, because you're making Betway pay up tonight. I like that a lot. So for our official gaming partner, Betway, let's take a look at the highlights of the night.
A.J. Greer makes a nice play to Rosicka. Here's Dube. Can't tuck it in. They score on the rebound. 3 Flames through center. Mangiapane down the wing, back to Lindholm. Throws it in front. They score. Terrific goal. The Calgary goals. Greer plays it over. Tanev joins the rush with a goal right down the wing. Rosicka scores.
So there you go.
The Backlund goal, I think, was the team's youngest player feeding the team's oldest player.
Well, I wondered on that, when you're doing from the side wall to the center of the ice sauce pass, that doesn't usually go in. In fact, it's usually turned over, and the coach is going to give you shit when you get back to the bench. But on this night, it does work.
It's the end of a shift. He's put, you put it to the net and see what happens. And, worst case, the coach gives you some guff and you go, what? I thought Backlund would have it. What do you want from me?
So that's the highlights of the night for Betway, our gaming partner. Bet the responsible way with Betway. It comes, and you know what? I think we trying to remember which games we've worked together, but that pass again. You talk about microcosms, or just a glimpse. Connor Zary has never been overwhelmed by the moment since he got here. He stepped in, he played hard, he held on to pucks where a lot of younger guys or rookies or guys playing their first or second NHL games would have just gotten rid of the puck. They'd have dished it quickly. He's made plays. He's looked poised. What is his 10th or it's his 10th tonight, right?
This is his 10th.
His 10th NHL game, and he's firing saucer passes on the road in Dallas. He's very confident. He's cocky. He's a little bit fearless, and he's damn near a point a game. And I thought they missed him the other night when he wasn't in.
He gives a little bit of pizzazz. He's got a chip on his shoulder, I think. Disclosure, I don't think he was happy about being sent down. But, kids, if you're ever upset about something in your life, respond like this. Like, he was over a point a game in the American League when he got called up. And I think folks have been wondering, okay, is this what we can expect from him all the time? And I mean, what's the old saying? You are what you repeatedly do. And through 10 games, I don't think he's had a quote unquote bad game. The period where we didn't see much of him, I believe that was the Seattle game, was turned out to be partially due to an injury where he wasn't playing too good because he was a little bit hurt. So that'll do it. But if you take the games where he was 100%, the 9 games now where he's operating at full capacity or close to it, he's been one of the more noticeable Flames, regardless of cap hit or jersey number. And, if you're someone who's looking ahead to the next few months and looking at cap friendly and going, there's a lot of guys who are going to be UFAs. There's going to be opportunities for some of these guys. We've seen Pospisil step in. We've seen, we saw Solovyov step in and look pretty decent. We saw, Coronado look, some glimpses of really strong play before he went down. He's been very good with the Wranglers. So if you're someone going, if these guys move out some of these UFAs, do they have anyone who can replace them? The short answer is yes.
Mm-hmm.
And based on the sample size and the quality we're getting from some of these young fellers, there might not be that much of a drop-off in terms of overall team performance if more of these young guys can come in from the farm and step in and take on these kind of responsibilities.
Yeah. And I mean, and if not a drop off in performance now, then at least there's reason to believe that if there is a rebuild of some sort to whatever degree, that it may not be as lengthy or as painful as you might have thought before the start of this season. Because like you say, you thought Pelche was, Pelche can play. You hadn't seen Coronado. You hadn't seen Zary. You weren't even thinking about Martin Pospisil, who I also want to talk about. He makes a great pass to Hanifin in the slot, who gets a great scoring chance. 3 shots on goal tonight. I notice him every single game. And obviously when he scores, you see him. But he is big and strong, and there's just something about him that he finds a way to impact the game, which not a lot of young guys in their first 10 games can.
You and I have both watched quite a bit of hockey, and I think there's a tendency for young guys. We talk about the moment being too big for them sometimes, but we also talk about, some guys are a little bit tentative. Like they go into a locker room and they're like, oh, I don't really know anybody. They don't want to step on any toes. They don't really want to get into game situations where guys they barely know have to step up for them and help them out. But I think part of the reason I think it's good that the Flames have their farm team and their NHL team co-located is that, say, Martin Pospisil knows a bunch of these guys. They see them in the gym. They see them, around town. They see them at team stuff. They have some familiarity regardless of if they're on the same team or not. They're, from being in the same organization. So that if you're Martin Pospisil and you're going, you're getting into situations where, oh, there's a scrum now, my first game, and poor Nazem Kadri has to come and bail me out when there's 3 guys in other colored sweaters fighting me. You at least know Nazem Kadri. It isn't your first time meeting him. There's some familiarity. You're familiar with the team. You're familiar with the staff. You're familiar with the systems. And I think that those little things help the moment not be too big for you. And Pospisil, we always knew he had a little bit of snarl. Brad Treliving, back when he was with the Flames, always commented, half jokingly, Pospisil's the kind of guy that could find trouble in church. He's just got that kind of a grit and a snarl and a truculence to his game where he doesn't really care if the other team particularly likes him or not.
Yeah.
And that kind of attribute, I don't think the Flames have a lot of that in their system. He kind of resembles, I kind of compare his game a bit to Michael Ferland early on, where Ferland came in and every game was like he was shot out of a cannon. And I think Pospisil, is probably maybe a little bit better at picking his spots than Ferland was early on. And hopefully, we already know the Pospisil's had some bad injury luck early on in his career, and hopefully, knock on wood, he doesn't, continue on like that, because if he can stay healthy, if he can be like this for 75% of his games, 80% of his games going forward, to be this noticeable, that's he was a 4th rounder in a year where they traded. It was 2018. They had no first, they had no second, they had no third. They gave up 2 picks in that year in the Travis Hamonic deal. So Martin Pospisil is the highest drafted player the Flames have from the 18 class. And based on him alone, based on the guys that they do have from that draft class, I think you look at it and go, okay, yeah, that's fine. He fills a need that they didn't have someone to fill. And if he can be anywhere close to this going forward, if he can be like this consistently, I think you look at him as an addition to the team, and you look at him as like found money, right?
Now, you're the guy to talk to. I'm glad we got you on tonight, because when it comes to collective bargaining and standard player contracts and all this sort of things, was tonight a somewhat significant night in terms of games played and his roster eligibility for Martin Pospisil?
This was number 10. So friends, just to get into some nerd crap for you, once you clear waivers, you can be on the NHL roster for 30 days cumulatively, or play 10 games, whichever comes first. And then after that, you become eligible for waivers again. So this was game 10 for Pospisil. After this, he'll need waivers to go down. As Dean alluded to, he's big, he's surly, he can score, he can do a lot of things, and he's on a league minimum contract going forward for the season. So I think it's safe to say that barring, anything unforeseen, he's sticking around for a while, because I don't think you want to risk losing somebody this effective and on this team friendly a contract. You don't want to risk it. So I think he's probably, I'd be shocked if we see him in a Wranglers jersey at any other
time. And you know what? It's one of those things, his play, he's not close to being demoted. It's not one of those things, but he is a prospect. And you don't just whatever luxury maybe you thought you had. Okay, we'll set him down for 5 games, bring him back up. I'm with you. I think even if his play dips a little bit, teams will have seen enough from that style of play, and it's not a unicorn, but there's just not many guys that play it that are willing to go and kind of run the goalie and kind of get a little bit dirty and chip in offensively. So yeah, he is on the team, deserves to be here, should not be sent down, and now for sure, I think it's going to be very hard for them. He's a Flame. He's going to have to. He's sticking around.
I think there's been a lot of pro scouts, and I know a few personally, who've left games where Pospisil played wearing a Flaming C and probably reported back to their organizations and going, "Oh Jesus, we need to get a guy like 76 on our team." And based on his performances on rather full press box nights at the Dome alone, I think he's safe. I think he can probably get a place.
So, and only because we're talking about this guy and everyone's high on him right now. How similar or dissimilar, or because it was less than a year ago, I guess, because he came in later, we were very excited as well about Walker Duehr. And Walker Duehr came in and started flying around, and he was scoring goals, and he energized the team. He was a young guy, and everybody just seemed to have a little bit more pep. He has not had a good start at all to the season. And not that we're waiting for Pospisil's wheels to fall off quite like that. But it's a bit of a cautionary tale, at least for me, because it was the same thing. Duehr, get a lower number, get a place, because you're sticking around and you're a Flame. And right now, I think you could put him on waivers, and there would. I don't think you have a risk at all of losing him to another team.
Yeah, I mean, he's on a multi-year deal, so that'd be kind of something that might scare teams off. I think it's a multi-year one-way deal, so I don't think a lot of teams would be in a hurry to get him. Especially, he's still got the tools. I think.
What do you see in there? I guess is probably the better answer. Whether or not anybody will pick him up, but
I love his speed. I love his speed, and he's got good size. And when he's on his game, he's such a good complementary forechecker, because if you put him with someone who can move the puck, he's such a good retrieval guy. He can go crash and bang, and his straight line speed can just get in behind guys or get on defenders and force them to do dumb things with the puck because they're worried about this guy ping-ponging off them. But I just think, he hasn't really used his speed as well. I don't think it helps. I think, just in defense of Walker Duehr, they've sort of had the fourth line churn where, it's been AJ Greer and then who the hell knows on the fourth line. And I think, when he was playing at his best, Duehr had some pretty consistent line mates. It was usually some combination of him, Trevor Lewis, and another winger. And Trevor Lewis, really effective guy, not really the most fleet of foot, but he was the kind of guy where if you sent in Duehr to go crash and bang and get the puck, the second guy in would be Lewis, and he can collect the puck and make a pass, and then, he can get something going. But, with, Ruzicka isn't exactly a muck around the corners guy. He's more of a finesse player. Dube is sort of the same ilk. Dube is a great straight line speed guy, but, his forechecking is sort of all over the place sometimes. Sharangovich, I don't think is a center, and when he's been on the fourth line, he's been a center, and it's a weird fit. We can go on for a while about the Flames fourth line center conundrum, because I don't think they have one. I think they basically have guys that are playing there, but I don't think they have a guy that really fits that that role the way the other three centers do. But I think the lack of consistency from the line, I think, has contributed to Walker Duehr's lack of consistency. But on the other hand, Walker Duehr is also pretty relatively inexperienced in his pro career. He played, 4 years of college and then went to the AHL. And, he's probably played, I got to double check my math here, but he's probably played maybe around 200 games, a little bit less than that as a pro period. And, at a certain point, you hit your ebbs and flows, and sometimes guys just hit their levels. And, maybe he's starting to sort of bump his head up against what he can be, but we'll see. He's still relatively young, and, he's still relatively, like I said, relatively fresh in his pro career. So I think there might be some stuff we haven't seen from him that we might be able to in the future. But, it's, you're not wrong. He's definitely a guy whose stock is sort of trending downward, and his future, in the immediate future with the NHL club looks a little bit murky, because before he was a guy that, you couldn't think of taking Walker Duehr otherwise, because you needed what he brought. And now you're going, wonder what this other guy can do.
He was an important guy a year ago. You see Village Honda there on your screen. Village Honda, it's the Black Friday event, and they want to send you to Vegas. It's the pre-owned sales event you've been waiting for. Over 90 units ready for immediate delivery. Savings of up to $6,500. They want your trade, any make, any model, and they want it. And they're prepared to not only pick it up for you, a trip to Vegas with any pre-owned purchase. Visit Village Honda. The sales event ends tomorrow. That is the Black Friday event only at Village Honda. So we take a look at the road ahead for the good people at Village, and it's a tight turn tomorrow night in Colorado against the Avalanche.
Another easy one.
Yeah, and the Avalanche look good. I think probably you're going to see a Vladar game tomorrow. Beyond that, I don't think you mess with a roster that put up 7. Unless there's some, nick or something, somebody's got an ailment that we didn't see during the course of this game, but it's going to be just enjoy this one, get on the plane, and get ready to go again tomorrow with the same crew, I would think, outside of the goaltender.
Yeah, I mean, they'll have some time in the 40-minute drive from the airport to the hotel and to, figure out all that stuff. I mean, I hate Denver's airport, by the way. It's not a great airport. It's too far away. It's weirdly designed. Just shots fired at the Detroit airport or the
figure
Denver
it out, guys. Hey,
put it in the middle of the city, damn it. But yeah, historically, in all the back-to-backs we've seen from Ryan Huska, unless somebody gets nicked up, he never really tweaks with the lineup. I mean, Daryl Sutter didn't really do that much either. I think, if you come, out of a back-to-back with a win in night one, don't mess with success, go back with it. So I agree with you. I think it'll lead Dan Vladar. We've seen historically a lot of good games from Dan Vladar in Denver. So I think both, habit and history suggest Dan Vladar will be in that. And, it's going to be an interesting game. We've seen some really good hockey games between the Flames and Colorado, especially on Saturday nights, especially strangely enough in back-to-back situations for the Flames. So it's they're a team that I think brings a lot of the things that the Flames like about their game out. I have a feeling it'll be very similar to this game we just saw against Dallas, where they're going to have to weather some storms, and you're going to have to stay out of the penalty box and not serve up a lot of pizzas, because if you deliver pizzas to the types of players that Colorado has in abundance of, I think you're going to be very unhappy with the results.
Yeah. So it's, again, tomorrow night in Denver, and then it's a tight turn. You take that lovely drive, as you explained, back to the airport after the game, get on your charter and fly home and get ready to play Vegas on Monday. So the game tomorrow actually ends this road trip. They come home and kick off now we believe it's the season-long 6-game road trip, or 6-game homestand, pardon me. And they'll have Vegas on Monday and then Dallas on Thursday. So if you can just get, a win tomorrow and then come and beat Vegas, then, you'll have at least a couple days there to kind of get ready for the rest of the stretch. But either way, it's a lot of hockey and a lot of travel in a short amount of time.
And a lot of hockey against a lot of good teams. I mean, you go, in this might be one of the more deadly 3 and 4s we've seen a hockey team play, in terms of you go Dallas, Colorado, Vegas, 3 games in 4 nights in 3 different cities. And then you get probably an off day on Tuesday, practice day Wednesday, and then it's, it's only Vancouver. Actually, it's Dallas again.
It's Dallas again. I was going to say
Vancouver on the Saturday.
Do you think they'll be sleeping coming into that one after losing 7-4? I mean, there's a team that's going to be ready. So pack a lunch.
Yeah, and I mean, it's the chance to. I don't know if it'll make a difference in the standings. I don't think I'm willing to put money down that the Flames and Dallas won't be tied in the standings at the end of the season. I don't think it'll come into play, but one of the tiebreakers in head-to-head record. And if you're the Dallas Stars, you go, oh crap, we might lose the season series to the Flames if you come back out and have a subpar effort. So, it's a revenge game, but it's also, a very important series of games for both teams. And, like you said, I think Dallas is going to come in trying to prove a point after giving up 5 at home in the back half of a home game. And we'll see if the Flames can have a better. I thought the Flames were very good in that November 1st game. They were just bad enough to lose.
Yeah.
And if they can have another game more like the second half of this one, that could be a hell of a hockey game.
Because we were happy with that. So, okay, they're going to lose a bunch of games this year, but if you can just keep it close and entertain us, then we'll be happy. And then I believe was that not the last of the 6-game losing streak?
Yeah, and honestly, I've mentioned this before. I kind of like that third period they had in the outdoor game. I mean, at that point, it didn't really matter. It was out of hand. But they did some good things in that last period in the Heritage Classic. They did good things for 3 periods against Dallas and just made just enough mistakes to lose. So if you're looking at like the body of work the Flames have put together in the last 12 or 13 games, more often than not, I think they've had 1 or 2 games, Ottawa, Nashville, you probably look at those games and go, don't really love those two. But if you can put together 12 or 13 games out of a 13 or 14 game stretch that you're pretty happy with from an effort, from a technical level, that's pretty good, especially given that I don't think people were saying that of the games preceding that stretch. So that they could be trending in the right direction, or they could be, cruising for a bruise, and given the types of opponents that they're facing in abundance of in the next 13 or 14 games.
7 different scorers tonight. We'll talk about one of them in detail in a moment. Quick break, back in 2 minutes.
I want to say a big thank you to one of our proud sponsors of Afterburner. In fact, our first sponsor of Afterburner, the original OG. It's Mandeep and our pals at BK Beaufort Liquor. They're located, where they are, right across from the Winsport facility on the Trans-Canada Highway. Get on that off-ramp, head up there, stock up if you're heading out of the city. Maybe it's a vacation on the weekend. Maybe you're looking for a 6-pack, a special bottle of wine, or it's a special occasion. Whatever it is, stop by BK Beaufort Liquor, say hello, stop in, stock up on your way out of town, or maybe if you're just flying by in the Northwest, you can find them on Twitter at BK Liquor and on Instagram at BK Beaufort Liquor. Thanks, Mandeep.
Wendy's is letting you win real food with your fantasy team this year with the Wendy's Daily Face-Off Survivor Pool. Wendy's is rewarding you with weekly prizes that will have you winning despite your lack of team-building skills. Download the Wendy's app, score yourself 150 bonus reward points on your first order, and grab a sweet victory from the mouth-watering jaws of defeat along with some fresh, never-frozen beef. Put your prediction skills to the test and score yourself 1,300 bonus points if you win the week. Use your points to grab your favorite menu items at Wendy's. Sign up to play Wendy's Daily Face-Off Survivor Pool to win weekly prizes like the spicy chicken sandwich from Wendy's and the Wendy's app.
It's hockey season. Get ready to cheer on your favorite teams with us at the Stage Bar at the Grey Eagle Resort and Casino. Enjoy the game on one of their huge, large screens with friends, drinks, and delicious food. Let's go. Visit GreyEagleResortandCasino.ca for more information. How about this information? Happy hour. Doesn't get much happier than this. 3 hours of happy hour. Let's make the most of the day and your afternoons with great drinks and food. Join us at the Stage Bar and Blaze Bar and Grill for the new happy hour. Every day, 2 till 5. Great food, specialty drinks, all starting at $5. Visit GreyEagleResortandCasino.ca for more information.
Do you believe in karma, Pike? Are you if you like doing good things leads to good things happening to you?
I do.
I do too, and I'm going to show you a little bit here, because with the and right over our shoulders here, we got one there, and I see yours. Have you cracked into your Crown Royal up there?
Not yet. I was maybe in between shows.
Some full disclosure, we said, Pike, you're going to be doing these shows. But you need to have the product placement up there. So good on you. You ran out to your local liquor store there and loaded up on a nice little bottle of Crown Royal. Looks good up there.
Oh, this is as full as it's going to get. I'm going to have to use some trick photography as we move forward on these, especially the late games.
Well, Seravalli doesn't. He just takes a pull out of it and puts it back in the shelf with this much missing on it. So don't feel bad if you need to.
He's the Writers Association president or presidente. He can do whatever he wants.
Well, little good karma, because it was yesterday. They're down in Texas, Plano, Texas native. Blake Coleman says, you know what, boys, while we're down here, it's Thanksgiving. There's no games. I got my place. Why don't you, hey, everybody come on over. We're going to have a big feast. We're going to feed everybody. We're going to, it looks like they've got a decent little spot there down in Texas. Just a humble little spot. As the team went and hung out all day, they had food. They watched football. They were hitting the ball around, throwing the ball around. And you know what that is? That's a little good karma for Blake Coleman, who scores tonight and now leads the team in goals with 6. How about that? That's a little good karma. When you're a generous person, things tend to come around. The generous guy, generosity, lives in the small things, doesn't need money or an audience or even acknowledgement. It just needs a few good people. Crown Royal, crown everything.
It doesn't take $1 million donation or name on a hospital wing. This is where generosity lives.
You've got you've got like a basketball court and a putting green and
of course,
in your backyard, right?
Of course, don't you? I assume.
Well, yeah, I just don't want, I don't want to be that guy, right?
You have to choose between, I think, the pool and the putting green. I know it's a tough decision to make. I think the winter climate makes them both a little bit challenging to accommodate, but we make do, right?
Yeah, we make do. I asked the other guys in the show just because I just hadn't thought about it. You focus on a lot when you talk about this team every day, and it's like, who is leading the team in goals? Because it was Pavelski who was leading for the Stars. I literally have to go take a look. Oh, it's Mangiapane and Coleman with 5 goals. So 5 doesn't feel like a lot. Well, now it's 6. So
and coincidentally enough, his first goal in the NHL in his home state. He's a Plano kid, a Dallas boy, married a Dallas Cowboy cheerleader. So his life has been very challenging, obviously.
Yeah, it's nice.
And he's also half decent in hockey, leading the team in goals. Mm-hmm. Got them tied up in this game early on. I mean, so like it's hard not to like the things that Blake Coleman brings to this group. He's also selfishly great quote. If you ever need someone to explain what the hell is going on with this hockey club or any of them, Blake Coleman's pretty good at that. So,
and despite all those challenges, has won a Stanley Cup or 2, I believe, as well.
One or two. But he's played only on the East Coast until the last little bit. New Jersey and South Florida, Central Florida rather. So I mean, I'm glad he's able to hammer out a tough living in his palatial estate in Texas.
Yeah, he deserves it. He really deserves it. It's good for him. We'll do a little bit of hungry for more, and we'll do it for DoorDash. The deal continues with our buddies over at DoorDash. And here's the thing. If you've never used DoorDash, then, I mean, rather than make fun of you, what we're going to do is reward you with a heck of a deal here. Ordering is easy. Just open the DoorDash app, choose what you want from where you want, and the items will be left just outside your door. And for a limited time, our listeners get 25% off, 0 delivery fees on your first order of $15 or more from the DoorDash app. Enter the promo code right there, Nation25, Nation25. Hungry for more. What are you looking to see? Do you need more? Do you need more out of somebody? Do you want to see somebody who's performing at a high level continue it? What are you needing tonight?
I'm gonna pick on the special teams groups a bit. I mean, this is the Flames have been a very stout 5-on-5 team in this game. When there was a goaltender in the net, they outscored Dallas 6-3 at 5-on-5, 7-3. Including the empty netter. That's pretty good. Mm-hmm. Collectively, though, the special teams got outscored 1-0. They were only 2 for 3 on the penalty kill. They gave up a goal. Again, it was a pretty nice goal, but they still gave up a goal. And their power play, at least for once, they generated a lot of chances. I think their first power play got officially 4 shots on goal, didn't score, but got a lot of momentum. But you're hoping to see a bit more in terms of offense generated by your power play and offense prevented by your penalty kill. So collectively speaking, I'm hungry for more from the Flames special teams.
That's I think we're all hungry. I think all of our bellies are grumbling a little bit because they do now again, abbreviate. It's often unfair. You just look at the numbers and they had the abbreviated one because a penalty comes and it wipes out your power play. But officially they go 0 for 3 tonight. They have 1 power play goal in their last 9 games, which is a stretch of 1 for 25, which just is not good enough. That's near the bottom of the league. And I don't know who you blame. It's, is it the carpenter or the tools? Do you look at Mark Savard and say, hey, you were brought in here to get this thing going? And does he look out and say, how many 30, 40 goal guys have I got out there? Who's got the real offensive touch that's a pure shooter or a pure playmaker to make things happen on the man advantage? It's somewhere in the middle, but I can see how frustration for fans sets in, and I'm sure behind closed doors in that coach's office, it's got to be setting in.
Yeah, and they've tried a bunch of stuff. They've changed up the composition of the units quite a bit. We've seen 3 or 4 different defensemen go on it. We've seen units with 2D and 3 forwards. We've seen units with 4 forwards and 1D. I'm sure at some point they'll throw their hands in the air. We'll see 5 forwards, and that'll be kind of fun for a little bit. I'm pro 5 forwards on the power play. You might as well. I'm team chaos here, but it's this is the A, what the Flames are, and B, probably what they're going to be for the next few years, maybe a couple years, because they don't have, if you look up and down the roster, with the guys performing the way they have been, and this isn't to pick on anyone, but it's just, they don't have a Kachuk or a Gaudreau or even a Giordano that has the opportunity to take over a special teams unit and have everything flow through them. But if you can figure out how to make the existing units work, 5-on-5, they've been very effective because they simply move the puck well and just grind teams with pace. And if they can just move the puck more efficiently on the power play, I think they have something there. But they just haven't been able to get their mojo going quite as effectively as they need to. And as a result, we saw they were pretty decent against Dallas, but in that Nashville game, that power play was just flat out not good. Capital, not capital, good.
Yeah.
And it actually probably let the air out of the balloon in terms where they had momentum.
Oh, it does. Like when your power play,
yeah,
when your power play struggles to that extent, it only gives momentum to the other team, and that's the worst case scenario where they're now killing things off. They're begging for you to take penalties. This is great. Life's easy. Or they're go ahead, be on the man advantage. We're getting odd man rushes. They've got damn near as many shorthanded goals as power play goals.
It's pretty close
at the end of the day. And I was going to, and before we move on for Hungry for More, you did mention before we came in that with the special teams, the other side's doing well for them. They're earning their keep.
Yeah, they occasionally give up 1 or 2, but it's the PK, generally speaking, it's been those workhorse guys. It's been your Lindholms and your Backlunds and your Colemans, and Sharangovich has been very effective in the penalty kill. They get Dube and Mangiapane in the mix, and the defensive rotation. Like, they've been very good at at the very least, when they've given up goals, they've been the type of goals we see Dallas score today, where you go, okay, yeah, they did a pretty good job passing there. There's not much that the goalie or the defenders could do there outside of maybe get in the way of slightly more, but that was just a good effective play. You're basically forcing the other team to make really nice plays to score on you. You're not giving them any freebies, and that's really all you can ask for your penalty kill. Give your goalie a chance to make the first save, and then figure out a way to clear it. And it's I think if they can bring. I don't think there's a lot of, my buddy, our buddy Mike Fail will rag on me for saying that there's nothing overly fancy on a good penalty kill. But the good penalty kill, it's basically cutting down angles, keeping the guys moving, and getting some good forechecking and good pressure on guys and make them make bad shots. And on the power play, I think if they can bring that kind of urgency, that kind of quick passes, quick movement, quick urgency to their play, maybe it could work out. So we'll see. There's only 62 games left to go, so they can still turn the power play around. But the penalty kill, I think they're still top 5 or 6 in the league by percentage. So they're still very effective. They've been very effective last 3 or 4 or 5 years. So it's good to see.
Yeah. And of course, it starts with the goaltender, and Markstrom, a little wobble tonight, but Markstrom's been very good. That is Hungry for More, a presentation of DoorDash. Again, remember, limited time only. You get 25% off and 0 delivery fees on your first order of $15 or more. Download the DoorDash app and enter promo code NATION25 and get that 25% off. Dash that for the win with DoorDash. You mentioned a guy's name in there. We've not mentioned him yet. He, let me take a look here. He had to have been he was the 3rd star. Okay. The hometown boy, Blake Coleman gets first star. They gave Wyatt Johnson star number 2, and Yegor Sharangovich of the Calgary Flames comes through with the third star honors. 5 shots on net, 1 goal, 2 assists, 14 and 11 seconds of ice time. You're getting a lot done in 14-11 for Sharangovich. And we kind of like, well, there's his best game as a Flame. And then maybe a couple games later, well, now that's his best game as a Flame. He's not played many games as a Flame, but this has given you some hope. He was strong tonight.
Yeah, and I'll say this about Sharangovich. I don't know if he can be a guy that can drive a line on his own. I mean, we've seen them throw him on the fourth line, and he's fine on the fourth line, but whenever he's on the fourth line, he's asked to be a center. And I don't think A, being a center, or B, driving a line are necessarily the things he's great at. But if you put him with guys that can drive a line, I mean, Mangiapane and Lindholm are very good players at getting the puck in the defensive zone. And if you look at the kind of things that he did, 2 of his 3, he had a goal, and his primary, actually both of his assists were very nice assists. He made a nice play along the wall in the empty netter.
One should have been a glove save, but yes.
Yeah, but you're like, okay, put the puck on net. I mean, other guys get in the puck, and he's the type of guy that, because he's got some size and he's got a willingness to sort of go into those tough areas and sort of battle around for pucks, that if he can play with guys that can go north-south with the puck and then throw it into that lane, he's been very effective at getting into that area. I mean, his goal was just a perfect example of him just going where the puck was going to go. And, he's the type of guy where I sort of affectionately call him Belarusian Dube, where he's got a lot of the attributes that make him as, very effective, like Dube is at his best. And, I think the big challenge for Sharangovich is, and the frustration I've had with how the Flames have handled Dube at times is, what's his role? Like, what's his niche? What's his gig? Because, with Mangiapane, you always know he's going to be play driving winger. And because he can be a play driving winger, you don't try to do other things with him. You just let him do his thing. But because Sharangovich, he's not quite an ace at any one thing. He's sort of a utility guy, but he's so good at being a utility guy. I think it kind of makes them put him in too many different spots and too many different roles. And if they just get him to do one thing, and maybe if he just is locked in as a complementary winger in the top 9, where, they need to rotate wingers around, maybe Huberdeau goes somewhere else. You throw Sharangovich on that line. You throw Sharangovich with Kadri and whoever else. He can be effective with whoever you need him to, but I just think some consistency with his role would lead to a bit more consistency for performance. But, when he's on his game and he's playing that speed game and just going to the front of the net and, just making smart, simple plays, he's really effective. And this is, I agree with you. This is one of those more effective games wearing a Flame sweater, because, you can't argue with 3 points. And if you look at the way he got his points, you go, okay, I can see why they thought this guy would be fair value for Toffoli.
That's what I was going to say. For a while, you wondered what have they got here, and you go back as how did this guy ever score 21 goals in New Jersey? And now you can start to with a shot and a release like that and finding some space. That goal that they scored, that might be the nicest goal that the team has scored all year. Tic tac toe, like wired a shot, beat the goaltender. It was a beautiful goal.
Yeah.
And for him to, he's an effective penalty killer. And I don't know that he's the answer for a struggling power play necessarily, but when you can kill penalties and you can be valuable to your head coach, when your coach can trust you in different scenarios, and I don't know, because that's what kills a lot of guys, is the coach gives you a little bit more responsibility, puts a little more faith, and then you miss an assignment or you don't get back hard enough on a back check and the puck ends up in your net and the coach says, all right, have a seat. I'm done. You can sit there and just play your fourth line minutes or whatever the case may be. And I think that there is a bit of faith there for sure. He's the only guy that can score in the shootout, so there is that.
And when they shorten the bench, when you see the Flames get into 3 lines under Huska, 17 ain't sitting very often. He's usually one of those guys that sort of sticks around and gets elevated. So that speaks to the level of trust. Because if you're shortening your bench, you're shortening it because you're trailing, you're chasing, you need the guys that are going to go a little bit more. And Sharangovich in the close games where you need that goal, he's a guy that you think can get it for you.
You brought up his name. Pinder brought it up today, actually, on the other show. Dylan Dube. just kind of what is happening with Dylan? What are we seeing? Because as you said, he's been on every line. He's been at center. He's played both wings. He hasn't put on the pads and gotten in net and played D yet. But being kind of cheeky, but it's not been a great start for Dylan. Back-to-back 18-goal seasons. He can score pretty goals, and his foot speed is quite good. But I don't see him. On the flip side, I don't see him impacting games. I don't feel like here's a guy knocking at the door who's going to get a goal in 3 straight or go on some sort of a goal-scoring binge. He seems very lost, and you already talked about it, a guy that when a coach doesn't give you a defined role, it can be hard for players, and he's not a young guy, but I still kind of view him as kind of young. If you put yourself in his shoes, so what do I need to do to have a good game? When the third period is over and we're in the locker room and we're taking our skates off, what do I need to have accomplished for the coach to come by and say, good game? Is it score a goal? Is it score 2 goals? Is it not get scored against? Is it to get special teams? Do I need to get out for 18, 20 minutes? Like, what is it that constitutes a good game for Dylan Dube? And I don't know that he knows, and maybe Huska doesn't know, because I don't really know, because I don't think it's fair to just look at goals anymore.
Yeah, especially because his role keeps changing. I mean, if you're, I think this is sort of an example. I think we're speaking after a good Dube game, because I thought the fourth line, especially, early in the game when a lot of Flames were sort of fighting it a bit and turning the puck over and sort of overhandling at times, I thought his line with Greer-Ruzicka was pretty effective because they just kept it simple and went right to the net. I mean, AJ Greer's goal was basically put on a platter for him by Dube, making a nice play and basically getting Audiger to bite. Dube couldn't get a handle on it, but he threw it out for Greer, and he, it was a nice play. And I think those are the types of things that Dube needs to do more of in order to earn a bit more leash from the coach, because, I think the big challenge for him is just, what is he? Is he, because with Sharangovich, I think Sharangovich is doing a bit more. Granted, I think Sharangovich has been given the opportunity to do that in the roles he's been given. But I think Sharangovich has done a bit more when he's had those opportunities to really say, yeah, I can be on the top line with, Lindholm and Mangiapane in these types of games where you need goals and you're chasing and you need to claw back in. I can get you back in. Whereas Dube hasn't really had that opportunity. And when he hasn't really done enough with it, I don't think, to really cement himself. So that's a big challenge. I mean, he's sort of I don't think he's on either power play unit right now. He's a pretty effective penalty killer. Him and Mangiapane have been on the penalty kill, sort of that third forward pair for the last couple of seasons. They've been effective. They're one of those groups that frequently against higher power plays generate odd man rushes against. And so I think that's something that he's effective at. But 5-on-5, I think for him, just figuring out what his niche is and allowing him to sort of develop an identity as a player and help impose that identity on a line, because, the best developmental success stories the Flames have had, Mangiapane has been Andre Mangiapane, when he came in 18-19, was asked to do the same things that he's being asked to do now. He's just doing it on a line with better players. Backlund has always been, hello, we're going to put you in the heavy defensive zone starts with whoever we have for wingers for you, and it's up to you to sort of move the puck up ice and set the table for the scoring lines. And he's been able to do that. And as he's gotten more leash and became a Selke contender, they just gave him better line mates. But his role has sort of always been very similar. But for other guys, when the path isn't as clear and success, the definition of success isn't quite as clear night in, night out, I don't know how you really build your game and how you develop yourself into what the coach wants to be, especially if you think what the coach wants you to be is changing on a weekly basis.
And now, I say that, Ryan Huska, my guess is, because when we talk to him, that's one of his core things. Everybody's going to know what their role is in the hockey team. They're going to know what their responsibilities are. They're going to know. So it doesn't look like anything's working. That role isn't being filled because he's not overly physical. He has speed, but you don't want him to be a fourth liner, right? Like that's not really, if Dylan Dube is playing near his potential, it's not on a fourth line.
I have a question for you, and it just came to mind. What's the difference right now between Walker Duehr and Dylan Dube?
What, 2 goals? What's Dylan got? I mean, it's not a lot. I think you believe because he's scored, right? You've seen 18 goal seasons out of Dylan Dube. You haven't seen that out of Dewar. And I think that you expect Dewar to be just more of an energy guy, crash bang. That to me is a good Dewar night. Goals are bonus. Dylan needs to score goals to a certain extent. He's maybe not going to get 20, but you can't have 5. You can't have 7. You get top. You should be top 9 guy easy given your skill set, and it's just not there right now. So I don't know. I think that I keep waiting for it, but it's. I think he's in a unique spot here right now in his Flames career.
And I think the challenge for him is, the better that Connor Zary and Martin Pospisil look on a nightly basis, there's only 6 top 9 winger spots. Pelche gets one when he comes back.
Yeah.
Presumably Pelche is going to go to the AHL for a period of time to get his mojo back and get some reps and knock the rust off. Then he's coming up. And we might not see him until the trade deadline or slightly before. So at that point, who knows what the team looks like? But the team is comprised now. There's 6 top 9 winger spots, and they belong to Huberdeau, Pospisil, Zary, Sharangovich, and Coleman.
And
Mangiapane. So that's 6. So unless one of those guys falls off a cliff, and at this point, you could maybe put Pospisil on the 4th line, but he's been so good.
Doesn't deserve to be there. Yeah.
He's so good at creating space for the guys that can score or scoring on the chances that he's set up for by the scorers that you don't want to take him out. So right now, who do you take out from the top 9 to fill in a Coronado or a Pelche or just if Dylan Dube is already on the team?
Yeah. Well, I got to tell you about, you see it up at the top corner there, Charm Diamond Centers. Proudly Canadian owned, operated since 1972, more than 85 locations across the country. You can get custom ring building delivered in less than 4 weeks with the Charm Masterpiece program and an unbeatable pricing policy. The holidays are coming up. I'm not sure if you knew. It's the perfect time to check out a large selection of Canadian lab-grown diamonds, mined diamonds, and don't pay until 2025. They're instant in-store financing OAC. And right now, Charm Diamond Centers is giving you a chance to win a $5,000 gift card. Become a Charmpion with the Pro Pose. Have you already done... Are you in wedded bliss? Have you done the Pro Pose? Look at you. You've done the Pro Pose.
I did not do the Pro Pose, but I'm familiar with its mechanics.
Well, see, I mean, maybe you did the bend and snap. We'll have all the details. You just got to go online and check it out. CharmDiamondCenters.com. They want to see what you've got. If you're out there, show and tell them your proposal story. Tag at Charm Diamonds on Instagram in a post or a story with a video or photo of your propose. Be sure to use the hashtag #ThePropose to be entered, or you could email your submission to the email address propose@charmdiamondcenters.com in order to be entered for a $5,000 Charm gift card contest. So with a propose, would it be like right knee, left hand? Would it be left knee, right hand? Are you too tall? Too tall for the bend and snap? I don't know. Go to charmdiamondcenters.com and check it out. It's go time.
All right, gang, listen up. It's time to learn the Pro Pose. Coach?
Bend and snap.
Beautiful form. Nice arm extension. Facial expression. I could use some work. All right, let's see it. The Pro Pose. What's that guy doing?
I think that's the bend and snap.
That's a whole different deal. Charm, home of the Pro Pose. Oh!
So there you go. Again, to get entered, the website, go check out all the details there at charmdiamondcenters.com. The Pro Pose. We might actually, that's of course Jimmy Playfair's son there. Are you familiar with Letterkenny? Are you one of the Letterkenny faithful?
I've watched it a few times. There's just so much good stuff on TV these days.
There it is. You know what? I knew of Letterkenny and I struggled to get into it. It was like, okay, it's very bro. It's very kind of, and then the pandemic hit and I started watching it. And then after a while it's like anything else, but you get familiar with the characters and how it works and the language and the writing. And I think it's brilliant. I do now find it. I find it very funny. I think those guys are awesome.
The episodes I've watched, I really enjoyed. I'm more of a Trailer Park Boys guy because I have family from Atlantic Canada, so I'm more familiar with that culture than the Letterkenny culture. But every time I watch it, I find myself going, "Damn, I need to find more time to watch it."
Yeah, I know. Covering this hockey team really gets in the road. Really gets in the road. We're gonna get some questions coming up. People are into the chat. If you're on YouTube or Facebook, you pump in a question there. We'll get to it. Some burning questions to wrap up the show, and still more. There's another guy that we need to talk about. Except he was wearing the green tonight, and he loves playing the Flames. We'll be back in 2 minutes. Greta, it's our home away from home for Afterburner. We'll be there for live watch parties throughout the season. Should be your spot regardless. Before, during, and after the game, grab a cocktail, something from the menu, let the games begin, or maybe you get into the game yourself. Over 50 arcade games from vintage to state-of-the-art. Load up some credits on that Greta game card of yours and get at it. Greta Calgary, located at 213 10th Avenue Southwest. Check them out online, gretabar.com.
Derek Newman of Newman Dean's Real Estate Group is a proud sponsor of Afterburner. He, with CIR Realty, whether you're buying or selling, they're the people you talk to. Let Derek do the work for you. Give him an email, dnewman@cirrealty.ca, or give him a call, 403-619-6661. They can do home staging. It's incredibly low pressure. You can get a quote, what you think a market assessment is for your place. Also, Derek, with his huge network of people in his world, can find homes that aren't even on the market yet. If you're looking to buy, he's going to hunt down the perfect home for you. He'll go the extra mile. It's Derek Newman of Newman Dean's Real Estate Group with CIR Realty. Whether you're interested in buying or selling in the greater Calgary area, give him a call, 403-619-6661. Make it easy for you. Let Derek put his network to work for you.
Coming up in January, we'd love you to be there with us. We are going to Phoenix the 11th to 13th of January. It is the Barn Burner vacation to see the Flames take on the Coyotes. We got your hotels, we got your flights, we got your game tickets. Go to nationgear.ca to book yourself a spot. $14.99 based on double occupancy. You can book your spot now at nationgear.ca. That's the website. You'll find the link on the top. Avoid all the Oilers stuff. It's there, but just pretend it doesn't. nationgear.ca, and then book your spot in. They are moving. There's a limited quantity, obviously, but it's going to be a great time. Whether they're winning or losing, who cares? It's Phoenix in January. Go and watch some hockey, hang out, have a heck of a time. nationgear.ca, once again, to book yourself in for that. And it's brought to you by Alberta Blue Cross. Memorable moments with Alberta Blue Cross. It's about cherishing past moments and making new ones. Alberta Blue Cross Travel Insurance helps you protect your memories and more. Wherever travel takes you, visit ab.bluecross.ca/travel for more information. Alberta Blue Cross, celebrating life's memorable moments inspired by hockey. Let's get back to the show. A couple house cleaning items here. We had $14.99 Black Friday for a limited time. $12.99 now is the price of that. You go to nationgear.ca, $12.99 based on double occupancy, tickets, flights, hotels, and a heck of a good time out in Arizona. And while you're at Nation Gear, I don't know if you saw it, Pike. Today they unveiled the Flames Nation and all of the Nation Gear, but the Flames Nation Blackout Collection.
There's some good stuff there. It's there's new designs added all the time, but the Blackout Collection for the limited time. So it's they have a few hoodies that are really nice. They have a few hats that are really nice. So if you look in the market for a new hat, if you have a Flames fan in your family or an Oilers fan in your family,
or some stinking Oiler fan.
You can get nationgear.ca if you have Oilers fan relatives that you want to be nice to and get Oilers Nation stuff. By all means, if you want to troll a bit, troll gifts also count. Yeah. So, if you have relatives that live in the Red Deer area and you're trying to convert them, Nation Gear is always a nice way of telling someone you love that they're cheering for the wrong team.
So that's on nationgear.ca, the Blackout Collection, and Black Friday pricing is in effect. And a lot of people, and I saw somebody already asking about this hat. We got a lot on the go. we're doing a lot of things. One of the things we need to do, obviously, and we're working at it right now. And if you go to nationgear.ca, you're going to see some more stuff. There's going to be more barn burner stuff, more Nation Citizen, more Flames Nation stuff going up. This is one of the first steps in advance of Christmas. But we appreciate that you are looking for the gear and the merchandise, and that you do. It is sought after, and we're going to do everything we can to try and get it in your hands.
We want everybody to look good as often as they want to look good. So.
Oh yeah, yeah. Now, were you at Greta for the Pinder nugget eating?
I was covering the game, man. I was.
Oh, yeah.
Dome. I heard about it. I seen videos. It was something to behold.
Yeah, it was quite a night. Because I mean, Greta's banging at the best of times, and then once the Flame game lets out, because it was a home game that night, everybody, as they should, just kind of is so close to the dome. They just come walking down and headed to Greta. So you've got everybody. Flames are playing. They beat the Canucks. The place is like, it is jumping. Everybody's having a great time. And then you've got Pinder sitting on the side, just green. And you could tell people are walking by because he had to eat these 41 nuggets. It's like, hey, how's it going? It's like, who's the guy with, because he was doing it live on YouTube, so they've got a light shining on him. It's, who's the green dude with the light shining on him? But I look forward to getting back to Greta. Have you done Greta?
I haven't been in a while.
Okay, we gotta go.
Every time that you guys do one of the watch parties down there, I'm covering a game. So
it's a home game or something. Yeah.
So if you do them in a road game, I'll definitely come down.
Okay. Well, I know we got something. We're going to be booking up the December one, but we'll get you out there. We'll make sure that it's a road game, and we won't make you eat 42 nuggets.
I'll take 10. Those
won't make you do it. Yeah. Well, they are very good. Yeah. In the right quantity. These street nuggets of Greta are tremendous. And in fact, Casey from Greta was saying, if the Flames are at home and they win an overtime or a shootout, you come down to Greta, you have your proof of, your proof of admission. You're going to enjoy some street nuggets on the house at Greta. How about that? Rooting for Flames wins, close to the dome. And if you want 42, I guess they'll give you 42. I saw it with my own eyes. I don't recommend it, but I have seen it happen. It has been done.
I think the sweet spot is 10 or 20.
Yeah. And they're not wings, they're nuggets. And they aren't the nuggets you're kind of used to. These aren't drive-through nuggets. They're a little bit bigger. And he was convinced they were getting bigger as they continued to come out. I think he was hallucinating is what it came down to. Anyway.
This is why, friends, word of advice, always be nice to kitchen staff, because if they know that you're doing a competitive eating thing, if the kitchen staff gets wind of it, they might put their thumb on the scale a bit and make them a little bit bigger just to make it a little bit tougher on you.
There you go. There's Yeri on the chat. Did a 30th birthday for my sister-in-law at Greta. It was a banger. Staff was ultra accommodating. This is another one of those things. If you've got with the holidays coming and you've spent too much time in the house with your family, take them to Greta, because they got video games out the yinger. They got like 50 video games. Some of them are kind of the classics, the old throwbacks. Some of them are state-of-the-art, brand new. It's a huge place. You can kind of get lost and go do your own thing. You could shoot hoops and do all kinds of stuff, and it gets you away from the people you've spent too much time to. It really is a nice escape from your family while still involving your family. It shows that you care, even though you may not care. Thank you, Greta. Thank you for everything. We appreciate that. That gives me a great idea. Now that I think about it, it's like, yep. What do you want to do today? Let's go to Greta. You're going to love it. We'll stay for 5-6 hours, and you can play on this side of the room, and I'll play on that side of the room. Anyway, tonight, the Flames, they do get it done. 7-4. Did not see that coming. We'll get to your questions in a moment. I mentioned one other guy who had a solid night. Always seems to have solid nights against the Flames. 39-year-old Joel Pavelski does it again. And this was the goal that I thought, even though there was half the game left, there's a power play goal right through the seam. A no-doubter. I don't know. You could probably play that a little bit better on the PK, right? Because you can see that's not exactly a box. It kind of collapses there. but he buries it to make it 4-2. That's now in his career. Joe Pavelski in 63 games has 20 goals and 61 points. It feels like of the 20, he must have played the first 20 games, or of the 20 goals, first 20, 25 games without a goal. Because I swear to God, he scores every time he plays the Flames. He's just been
since he's come to Dallas, he's just been lights out against the Flames.
We talked about it today on the Betway Bets. It's like, well, go get your Joe Pavelski anytime goal because you know it's an automatic, and sure as anything, he scores. He's not a Hall of Famer, but you can't help but have so much respect for this guy. What a 7th round pick, small, this American kid finds his way in, and you know, he goes to the net for a small guy. Takes a beating. He's not quite as nasty as Dino Ciccarelli was, probably about the same size. But the fact that his hand-eye is still among the best you'd see in the league. Is there anybody better still at going to the front and tipping pucks and can still shoot it? I think I have a lot of respect for Joe Pavelski, even though he makes you curse and swear at him whenever he's playing the Flames.
He's one of those guys where, you know, he was really beloved in San Jose. You know, my cousin's a Sharks fan, named his cat after Joe Pavelski. I don't know why, but that's the life decision he made.
Why he has a cat, or why he named it after Pavelski?
Mostly the naming the cat part.
Okay, fair enough.
But you know, he's a hell of a story. I don't know. I think if he had slightly better numbers, or you know, a few more trophies to his name, much easier chance at the Hall of Fame. But I mean, he's at the very least, he's going to be a guy that gets his number up in the Raptors in at least one building.
Yeah, you know what? I agree for sure. Because there really isn't hardware. There is no cup. There's no individual rewards. We were talking, did he win maybe a World Cup or a Olympic bronze or something with the Americans? I'm not sure. But in terms of National Hockey League hardware, it's not there. But he's played a ton of playoff games. He's a great performer. And I thought when the Sharks let him go that, yeah, that's the right decision. Don't keep him for too much money just because he's been very good. The team is changing. You're turning things over with Marleau and Thornton. Really, Dallas, hey? I wonder what Jim Nill... aren't you already too old with Ben and Sagan? It feels like you guys are getting a little gray. He's just fine. Leads them in scoring. Leads them in goals. Not too shabby. Well done.
Yeah, he's figured it out.
Well done. Quick message here, and then we will get to the burning questions of tonight's hockey game and on your mind tonight. But Afterburner is sponsored by BetterHelp. Give online therapy a try. And right now, if you go to BetterHelp, you'll be able to... With Flames Nation, it's going to be worth your while. Give online therapy a try. BetterHelp.com/FlamesNation, and you're going to get a nice little savings on your first month. So what is therapy? Is it lying down on a couch and pouring your heart out? Well, I mean, it can be, I suppose, if that's how you want to do it. But I think that that's kind of part of the stigma. It's not touchy-feely. It's just talking. It's just what's going on in your life. Where are your ups? Where are your downs? What's your day-to-day like? What are the challenges? And I think for guys, you think about talking and it's spilling your guts. It's just about being open and talking with someone, a licensed therapist, who can then help you start to work towards feeling better. And it's okay to feel better. You hear people say it can be better than this, and they're probably right. It just it can be hard to find help sometimes. And this is why it's such a great option, because it's online. It's tailored for you as far as convenience is concerned. Whenever you've got the time, that's when you can do it. And it's entirely online. So it's about the simplicity and making it the easiest as possible for you. You fill out a brief questionnaire, you'll get matched with that therapist, and then you go to work. You talk some things out, you go over some things, and then start to build those strategies and coping skills, finding ways to avoid the potholes. And if something comes up that's a challenge and you find that you're into it, okay, well, what are we going to do here this time? Instead of the old way and the way that I've usually done it, what's a new way to handle this scenario? Or maybe let's get out in front of it and maybe see it before it's coming. It can make a big difference in your life And I'm here to tell you about it. And BetterHelp is a great option for you. Make your brain your friend with BetterHelp. Visit betterhelp.com/FlamesNation today, and you will get 10% off your first month. That's BetterHelp, HELP.com/FlamesNation. So, burning questions for the Flames. Don't you do the mailbag? Is it a burning mailbag or is it just a mailbag?
I think we just call it the Monday mailbag.
The Monday mailbag. Gotcha. What was because there's only so many ways you can come up with clever names or kind of reference getting people to send you questions. It's like the inbox or the mailbox, or remember Dave had letters, or the late show mail or whatever. It's very challenging to come up with something that's clever for something like this. And yes, burning questions, because it's about the Flames. See, that's the tie.
And because burner's in the title of the show.
And the burning, yes, and the burning.
There you go. That's clever.
So clever. Yeah, that's why we're sitting here in our houses on a Friday night, because we're just so good at it. What do we got for some questions? Let's take a look-see. From Richard, who comes out of the lineup when it's time to bring Coronado back for the recall, or when Pelche comes back in January? Pelche is an interesting one, because I would think, because I know it was it was a nasty time frame there, 4 to 6 months. They were hoping 4, which puts them into January. I don't know when. It's a good question, though. I think for starters, you probably think let's assume everyone's going to be healthy, right? You knock on wood. And if everyone is healthy, I'll ask you, if you're making room for 2 guys, Pelche and Coronado, both who I think deserve to be there, you talked about how few winger spots there are. Where are you putting these guys?
I mean, I think at some point you got to make a decision on what the heck you have in Adam Ruzicka. I don't know about Ruzicka. I think the big challenge is you can talk yourself in or out of a lot of these guys, because you probably don't want to send Dube anywhere or park him. So he probably stays in, but you kind of need a top 9 spot for him. Pospisil, you could maybe put on the 4th line to open up a top 9 spot. But again, he's been so good in the role. Who knows if he'll still be good in another 20 games, but so far so good. Sharangovich probably should be in the top 9. AJ Greer, you got him for the waiver fee, which is like you spent like a couple $100 to get his contract, and he's found money for you, but he's been pretty effective in that role. And he's the type of guy where if you need him, he's been on the 4th line, he understands the role. If you need to, bring him in and out of the lineup, it works. I think the big challenge is just until somebody falls out of the top 3 lines, you don't really have a spot for Pelche. You don't really have a spot for Coronado. And because they're both waiver exempt, you can, put them in the farm and let them do their thing. But I think because, especially with Pelche has shown you in 2 years in the American League that he's too good for that league. He's a borderline all-star player in that league. And he was, very good in the game and change we saw him in training camp before he got injured. So you don't want him to necessarily lose a spot because he got hurt. So I think he might be the priority based on, the fact that maybe you can have Pelche play on a 4th line to start just to get him going and then see where he goes.
Yeah. You'd want to kind of ramp up his minutes anyway. But what are we talking? 2-3 games before he'd be ready for more minutes? I think that the unglamorous answer is just, who doesn't need waivers? We know that we expect that there's going to be some trades. I don't know if you would think if everyone's healthy, Conroy's going to maybe try and move some forward bodies in there to make some things happen. But it's a good problem to have, I suppose. Where some guys look like they deserve top 9 and some guys don't look like they're top 9 guys.
Yeah. And that I'm sure we weren't directly asked about them, but I'm sure if you're the Flames, you probably want to get Adam Klapka a look at some point. Maybe you want to get Cole Schwindt up. Ben Jones has quietly been a very effective, very consistent player for the Wranglers last couple of seasons. You might want to get him a look. So there's probably like 5 forwards when everybody's healthy that they don't have spots for unless they move existing bodies out. And, I think if that's probably a good problem to have, because, if you're one of those guys in any position, really, you're hearing footsteps, and that might keep you on your toes a bit.
There's a guy who's at the American League level right now who is only there because of his waiver situation, and that's Dustin Wolf. So it can be done. It's not the most exciting thing, and fans don't like seeing it, but sometimes it's the business side that has to kind of take precedent.
Unfortunately, it's the sad reality of a cap system, and especially if you got guys you can stash for free, you're gonna do whatever you can to maximize your flexibility. But when you have five UFAs on the books that people have really strong opinions of, and then another 2 or 3 beyond that, they'll have some opportunities to move some guys out.
What else we got, Jackie boy? Anything going on? This is from it's Coach Bob Hartley. I'd love to hear Boomer's opinion on how Conroy is going to go about the UFAs when clearly this team is so unpredictable. Negate Zadorov from this response. I'm not sure what does Bob mean there by negate Zadorov, not including Zadorov, or how do you go about the UFAs? Well, people always ask. He hasn't had offers worth nothing worth even close to worth pulling the trigger on, is what it is. You can be proactive and you're canvassing the league, but the league is also canvassing him. We've heard of these teams that we believe are close. Because we know in Toronto, what was it yesterday that Klingberg finally went on LTIR,
and they have no time. They have no clue apparently when things will clear up for him. So
I bet, Pike, that might be a season-long injury.
In Toronto, they call that Robida Island.
Yeah, Matt Murray Island. They've had a few people on that island over the years. So I don't know. How does he handle it? He said you can't lose guys for nothing. You can't lose Hanifin for nothing. I've said I think that you should be trading Tanev ASAP. I think that just because of the way he plays, his history of injuries, and it feels like he's always one shift away from just crumbling. And he's earned it, right? It's very admirable the way he plays, but it takes its toll, and it's got him to where it is. And I referenced it. It's like you've leased a very dependable, durable car for 4 years. You get to the end of the lease, you hand your keys back in and say, thank you. This was it was money well spent. I got 4 great years out of this vehicle, but I need to get a newer model.
Who was one of it was Luke Shen last year, the year before, right? Where I think it was with Vancouver, I forget which team, but they were basically just wrapping them in bubble wrap in between games and being like, please don't do anything. Just sit in the hotel and don't move. We'll tell you when you're traded. That's the kind of vibe I get with Chris Tanev, where, bless his heart, he's a heart and soul guy, but you're also kind of hoping that on the plane they wrap him with bubble wrap so he doesn't actually get bumped into.
Yeah, I know.
And he's I'll say this, I was very skeptical of his contract when he got signed. I'll wear that one. I was skeptical because, he was very much, I would say, a Troy Brouwer-esque contract where you're like, well, the playing style makes you love him, but the playing style is also why you go, ooh, that might not age very well. And Tanev's already given their money's worth. They got 4 years worth of value in like 2 years and change, and now this is basically a bonus year. And if you can get something for him that you can hang your hat on, I think you're pretty happy with it. But I agree with you. I think I'll say this: the Flames probably have a price tag that they would accept for basically everybody on the roster. The price tag is different, but they have a data team that does a lot of work sort of looking at the player production and what that's worth in the market generally, and the market's always changing, so they're always updating their modeling. But they have price tags that they would like to get for all these players. Like, why isn't Dan Vladar? We talked about Dustin Wolf. Why isn't Dan Vladar another team? They didn't get an offer that met the threshold that they liked. And that's the same with the UFAs. I think they're going to look at the thresholds, and they might tinker with them as they get closer, because I think, if you have a Dan Vladar who has term left, you can afford to be choosy, because, if you don't give me my second round pick, screw you. I'm just going to keep him.
Yeah.
But if he's going to turn into a pumpkin on June 30th, the mechanics change a bit. So, but I think it might take a while for all these guys, though.
I do too, just because I don't even feel like we know Zadorov's asked to be traded, and we've heard the teams are stiff. It's all going one way. Does Hanifin want to leave? Does Lindholm want to leave? I'm sure there are teams that would love to have these players, but I'm with you. And the other side of it is too, we give these GMs way too much credit. They're not as smart as we they must be smart. They must really know what they're doing because look, they've been hired by an NHL team to be a general manager. They don't want to get hosed either, because if they go and I'm going to trade my first rounder and something for this guy, and then it doesn't work out. Well, now you're just one step closer to being kicked out the door because you look stupid and you don't know what you're doing. GMs are paralyzed sometimes to make trades out of fear for making a bad one. Treliving's not one of those guys, but you wonder, a big part of it is because they just, I don't know what to do. I don't know if it's right. Is it a good trade? I'm not going to be the guy that loses this trade. It happens all the time. So I think that it's too soon. And I think Conroy does want, if not a premium, he wants something that's very fair for these players. And for guys like Hanifin and Lindholm, it's a lot. So are you going to do that for an expiring contract? If you're one of those other GMs, pay a lot to get a guy that's potentially done in a year, then you're in the Conroy box where you can't lose this guy for nothing. You better damn well win because you got him and you gave up stuff to get him. So I think when you get closer to that deadline, it's just going to take that long.
Yeah,
it's boring for us. Come on, make a deal, right?
My guess is, especially after the next 14 games, when they get to Christmas, you'll have a much better idea of where the Flames are, but you'll also have a much better idea of what these players are in terms of, if you're the Flames, if there's players that you're like, maybe, I don't know, you'll sort of get a better sense of what their value is. You'll get a better sense of how they're aging. You'll get a better sense of what they can do for other teams. But also, I mean, why Brad Treliving spent a first round pick to get Tyler Toffoli a few years ago? Because he thought, holy damn, this team's real good, and I want to give them a fighting chance. So I'm willing to shell out a first-round pick to Montreal to get Tyler Toffoli, because that's the missing piece. As we get further along, players get injured, teams' cap situations get clearer, but the gulf between the haves and the have-nots becomes much clearer, and the haves, they will look at what they don't have and go, damn, if only I had a Noah Hanifin, Nikita Zadorov, Elias Lindholm, maybe a Dan Vladar. And the offers you get from guys, in December of, I don't know, give you a third, and my third worst prospect, turn into something a little bit more tangible.
Yeah. I would love to be on the inside. I'd love to be inside that room. Are we buyers yet? Colin, just stop. No, you're not buyers. I saw that the other day. Who should they go against this guy to play with Huberdeau? Why don't they get this guy? Fellas, don't give up any assets right now. In one breath, you're talking about needing how many D-men have you got on the books for next year? Like, no, you don't. Just keep all your picks, keep all your prospects. If you want to be one of those teams, you got to wait till Christmas, like you said, Pike, or till closer to the deadline. If you're a playoff team, then maybe you're a buyer, I guess. But good gracious, I just don't see how.
Does your record really make you change your mind on the group? If you were thinking, maybe not in terms of, contract talks with some of these guys, does a good November really change your mind one way or the other?
Not me, because I know what I want to see. As someone who has watched this team for a long time, I've watched the one way where you try and consistently be good and go to free agency and bring in veterans and this sort of thing. I've seen how that has played out. I'd like to try the other thing. I'd like to try the other way for a while.
Hey, maybe I'll just say this. You and I talked off the hop about how some of these guys in their early 20s have been looking. I think the longer we see guys like Zary, guys like Pospisil, potentially more of those guys coming in and performing the way they do, if you're Craig Conroy, you might be a little bit less nervous about jettisoning some of these older guys who might be asking for upwards of $7 or $8 or $9 million when you can, take that money and do something different with it and replace them with guys in their 20s that might not be that much worse.
Yeah. Let's just hold on. Maybe they'll buy. I'm not right now. It's too close to Christmas. Can't spend money. It's too close to Christmas. Who is the next Wrangler to get their first NHL game? I have a thought, but I'd like you to go first.
I'm going Klapka.
I was going to say Klapka. I should have gone first now.
Yeah.
And that's another guy. I want to see what you've got. We wanted to see what Zari. I had no expectation at all for Pospisil. I just know talking to Conroy and Treliving over they really like this guy. He's bull in a china shop and he's big and he's fearless and he'll do whatever. He'll run the goalie. He doesn't care. So I guess maybe I should have been more prepared. I just didn't. It felt like a long shot. It's a different thing to do it in Europe or in junior or in college or whatever, and then do it at the NHL level. And like you said, the injuries that probably held him back, but I feel like this is the next guy. He had 2 goals the other night. 2 goals and an assist, I think, in the game 2 nights ago. Big, and why not? Because there again, we talked about Walker Duehr already. I want him to succeed too. But this guy should get a taste. I think he's earned it.
And he's played barely over a year in North America. He came over as a free agent, undrafted free agent. Flames gave up nothing to get him, and he's come in and he was, especially in the second half of the year, he was one of the. You're always noticeable when you're that size, but he moves much better than a guy his size really should be able to. And he's the type of guy where I think he's figured out over the last 12 months in a Wranglers jersey what he needs to do consistently to be effective. And he's consistently, both in terms of numbers and in terms of noticeability, one of the most consistent Wranglers players. And, the guys who have put up better numbers than him over the last year or so are the guys who are currently on the NHL roster. So he seems like the next guy up.
Look at us. You're right. And not just because you said what I was going to say or because that's what I think. I'll say, you're right.
I'll go dark horse, though. If they need an offensive defenseman and Jeremy Poirier is not back yet, I'm going to say Brady Lyle. He's a power play specialist. He doesn't really move the needle offensively that much at 5-on-5, but he's, decent enough two-way guy. But he came up, he was with the Bruins organization on an AHL deal, spent the last couple of years with the Blues organization as well. He's sort of, one of those AHL power play quarterbacks that he plays with your best shutdown defenseman, and your best shutdown guy can feed in the puck. He's been playing with Solovyov quite a bit and looking pretty good and starting to put up numbers. So, I think the Flames probably have a couple defensemen ahead of him in the pecking order. I think if Poirier is healthy, Poirier is the guy who comes up, but I don't think.
When is he due back?
I haven't heard outside of the word indefinitely. So, I don't think you're throwing Poirier into the NHL until he has a few weeks of AHL games under his belt either. Yeah. So I think that the fact that we've already seen Brady Lyle, or we've already seen Solovyov and Poirier's hurt, gives some credence to my Brady Lyle thought. Jerry JS, what about Ben Jones? Ben Jones has played in the NHL. He's played one or two games in Vegas. He got sort of the Cole Schwindt treatment where a bunch of guys got hurt and they brought him in for a little bit. Ben Jones and Cole Schwindt, I think, are both in sort of that realm too, where, at some point the Flames need to mix up their forward group and particularly want to try to solve the fourth line center issue internally. I'd say Schwindt or Jones would get a look. But again, we talked about they have so many guys that.
And Hunt, right? Hunt's kind of a forgotten guy that he started the year here,
and he's been
2 games.
He's been good on the farm too. So I think Osterley's another guy where I think he's been good on the farm too, and maybe his age keeps him down because maybe they want to get a bit more young guys in, and I think that might be something that goes against Dryden Hunt too. Ben Jones I think is only 24, so Jones could have an inside track, but again, this is the blessing and the curse of having a good AHL team where they've been one of the better AHL teams for the last 2 or 3 seasons, and now there's a half dozen guys you can think probably should, or at least deserve to get a look-see at some point. And unfortunately, with the waiver situation they have in the NHL roster and the fact that they have so many guys that are actually performing reasonably well in their roles, that, not enough guys have played badly enough to fall out of the NHL yet.
Jack, how's it going? Jack's back.
It's going well.
Yeah, you're doing all right.
I'm doing well.
I see some.
I told
Jack, when are you going back on Afterburner? Did great at Grettis. People want some Jack in their life.
Yeah, I guess so. I told the people, you're not going to bed until we get to 200 likes. So we'll keep this thing go.
How far out are we?
We're at 130.
Jesus.
130. Come on.
200.
Boom's got a family, guys. You gotta like this thing so Boom can go to bed.
Yeah, it's not even that late. I just don't want. I feel bad. I'm keeping Pike up. I'm keeping Jack. I mean, come on now. Don't worry about me. I'm an old dude with nothing to do. Nothing to do. Are there more questions there that we want to get at, or are we done? Because clearly getting to 200 likes will happen long after we run out of questions. From Paul, how many beers will you guys sell and crush on Tuesday in Strathmore? Are you coming to Strathmore, Pike?
I think I'm booked. I think I have other stuff on the.
There is a Flames game that night, I believe.
That's an off night. They play Tuesday. They play Monday, but
is it?
I got something else going on. The wife might have me committed to something on Tuesday. I'm not. You know very well I'm not in charge of my own calendar. So
there it is, people. There it is. We have got it. It's the Barn Burner Blonde. We've got our own beer, brand new light beer that was put together by the folks at Origin, our beer sponsors, our beer partners, Origin Malting and Brewing in Strathmore. Just great guys. I mean, great guys. And they said, why don't we do a beer? And I'm telling you, it does. The cans look so awesome. It does not do it justice in photos or even there on the screen. They went through a couple of different. They knew what they wanted to do. They wanted to do a light beer. They wanted to do something that was going to be very drinkable. That wasn't going to be a strong hoppy thing, so that a lot of people are going to like it. And I think they are going to like it. Was it Monday? I went out there to the brewery. They have their own canning, the whole thing there, and I watched it come to life. I watched the birth of the first ever run of Barn Burner Blonde. And the first time people can get a taste and figure and just see it for themselves will be on Tuesday out in Strathmore. Warner's coming back. He'll be there. I'll be there. Pike won't be there. Sorry, people. Disappointing everybody, Pike.
You got to leave people wanting more.
I guess so.
I've been told a little of me goes a long way. So
yeah. And you know what? There's only room for so many people. If Warner and Pike are both there, the fire marshal's going to have a heyday.
I think Rhett and I are only allowed in the same room a few times a year. I think the last time we were in the same room was that event we had at the Grey Eagle.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. We had a night that night. So again, can you throw that back up there for me, Jack? Because I know that we are expecting this to sell out. So, and when I say sell out, it just means kind of there's only room for so many people. If you are going to be coming, we'd love to see you. We just ask that you email in with an RSVP. The email address info@originbrewing.ca, and they'll take how many people you're coming. They'll set you up, and then we'll see you Tuesday, November 28th, 7 p.m. at the Tap Room on 60 Spruce Drive in Strathmore. We'll do a little hot stove BS session. You can taste the new beer. You can buy the new beer. They've got their Origin merch there for sale, prizes. You can meet the brewmasters that came up with the recipe and all that. Looking forward to it. That's coming up on Tuesday with the Barn Burner Blonde. Jack's going to go. He's going to take his gear off. He's going to be topless, just putting on quite a show. That's what you agreed to do, right? Is go topless, Jack?
Yeah, that's what we're doing.
Okay,
I'm
good.
not sure how I'm getting there, how I'm getting home, but
that is the issue. But we are adults. We are responsible. Pick one person in your group to be a responsible human, and we can all have a good time. That's all it takes. That easy. That's got to do it. Right?
We got to be at 200 now, right?
Oh, for sure. Yeah, let me say 670. There it is, 200. Yep. 200 likes. Thank you, everybody. Pike, thanks, pal. Appreciate you. Oh yeah, there it is.
Dallas.
Yeah, there's your replay of tonight's festivities at the American Airlines Arena. It's a good mullet, though.
That was the back half of the game.
That was the back half of the game. That was the 2 goals in 29 seconds. That was the Sharangovich goal right there.
I guarantee you, I got some people in my Twitter mentions saying they missed both goals because they happened so quickly after the intermission that they didn't get back from grabbing food in time.
Yeah. Priorities. So now, are you going to be doing the Afterburner tomorrow night?
I'm doing tomorrow night.
Are you going solo?
I am not going solo.
Oh,
Are we allowed to say who I'll be joined with?
I think so. I think you are. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. I think this is exciting.
I am excited. Yes.
A dear friend of all of ours, the Athletics, Julie McKenzie, is joining us for Saturday night. So usually for home games, it's the intermissions are spent with Julian and I and a few other media types hanging around the coffee machine bullshitting, and then the ushers in the press box telling us to get the hell out of the way because they're trying to get back and forth. So we're taking that on the road, or we're taking it virtual here for the last game of the Flames road trip. So yeah, after the Calgary Colorado Clash of Titans, Julian and I will discuss it all here on Afterburner.
Love it. Julie McKenzie, like as you said, from the Athletic, and you guys, multi-talented. These guys, you're writing, you're doing podcasts, radio podcasting and articles and basically television. Kids today.
It's very nice of you to call us kids.
But I'm a fan of both of you, but certainly it's great to have Julian on, and I look forward to it tomorrow night. And you guys are both going to be in the mix here, so we're pumped to have you guys and doing this as we continue to roll on through the 82 game schedule, which about 8 games in, I was a little unsure about how this is all going to go, and now here we are. I'm still not sure how it's going to go. But I can tell you, I did not see a lopsided victory tonight. Who knows what comes tomorrow? So Julian and Pike will have the reins of Afterburner for you tomorrow. 7-4, the final. Flames win it over the Dallas Stars. Support the sponsors. Thanks for being a part of it, whether it's YouTube, whether it's on Facebook, you're on our socials. You support the sponsors, you watch and you listen and you download. It does great things for us. It's how we make it's the teamwork that makes the dream work. Is that what they say? Something like that. But we do appreciate you. Have a great rest of your night. Afterburner returns tomorrow. Barn Burner on Monday. See you, buddies.